Do you know why I am so happy right now?
Guess what? It's my favorite DIY season. Christmas starts now.
Grab 3 of these wooden trees from Dollar Tree, and what I did is I started by painting the tree on both sides as well as the side of the container with some green paint. The base of this, I just used some brown wax to paint that. I grabbed 3 wooden stars. These came in a huge pack from Hobby Lobby, and I used this really pretty gold metallic paint. This is absolutely the best gold paint. If you like Christmas golds, definitely grab this one. And I painted the stars with that paint and then hot glued them to the tree just on one side. This next part, super fun. I grabbed a brush and some of that gold paint and just did a little bit of splatter paint on each of the trees. This was super fun, and I really liked the extra little texture it gives each of the trees. Then to finish these off, I did want to add a bow to each of them, so I took some Dollar Tree ribbon, and to make the bow, I just did 2 loops and then tied it so that the center part of the bow was just tan and then the rest of the decor part of the bow was showing. I hot glued those towards the bottom of the tree, and then these were finished, ready to be used for all of your entertaining. You certainly, obviously, if you're having a large party, you might need to make several of these, or you could just use them for forks and kind of scatter them about. You could put napkins rolled up in here as well, but it's just a cute little way to hold all of those utensils for holiday entertaining. I had this sign in my stash. It was from Dollar Tree, and all I could think of was a reindeer, maybe Clarice from Rudolph. So I started by painting the entire sign with some brown paint. Then I took a wooden bead that was flat on one side, and I used red metallic paint on that to make sure that it would have a nice shine. Now, I had this star in my stash literally for like 4 years, and I've never used it, and I was like, this is the year I'm going to use it. And so finally I decided, you know what, I'm going to chop this up and turn this into antlers. And what was nice about it is there was a heavy wire in there, so I was using my tin snips to kind of break it apart, and I knew that way with that wire in there that these would just be very, very firm antlers to add to my reindeer. I ended up with a V, and then I also cut 2 smaller pieces so that I could add those to the V portion to make it look more like antlers. And I'm just using my glue skillet for this. If you work with florals a lot at Christmas time, this thing is great because you can hold the object with one hand and you just dip it and then you just hold it, and it's a game changer. So I will make sure that everything I'm using in today's video is linked down below for you guys, as well as pinned in the first comment. So I just took those little extra pieces, dipped it in my glue pot, and then held it into place. And then I secured the antlers to the back of the sign. I got the shiny red bead nose attached with some hot glue, grabbed out some florals that I had. It was a mix of stuff from Dollar Tree and Hobby Lobby. Then I also tied a red bow and attached all those to the top of the sign by the antlers. Last step was just adding a vinyl decal that I cut out on my CRICUT that just says Merry Christmas, and then this reindeer was ready to be displayed. There is an easy tree topper that you can make, or you could even just use it as a light. I had 2 of these stars in my stash, and I started by painting them with some of that gold metallic paint. Also painted a small cube with that gold paint as well. taking some fairy lights, I took the cube and I hot glued it to the center of the star, and then I wrapped the fairy lights around that cube. Now, if you don't have cubes, you definitely could just take those fairy lights and tack it to the back of the star if you wanted to kind of get the same effect. Then I glued the other star on, and voila, you've got yourself a little starlight. You will need to grab this funnel from Dollar Tree for this project. I grabbed some green pipe cleaners that I got in a huge pack from Amazon, and I started to cut them into thirds. Once those were cut, I needed to wrap my funnel with some felt because I am going to turn this into a Christmas tree, and I kind of wanted to get it a little bit more shaped like a cone. Now, with the cone ready to go, you want to take your pipe cleaners, fold them in half, and then you're going to start to glue them. Now, you don't want to glue them all the way closed. I mean, you can if you want to, I guess, but I kind of left the bottoms open so that I could make little loops and kind of, bend them how I wanted to. Start on the bottom and work your way up. You're just going to keep going around and around and around. Now, there was a very common theme while doing this craft. Here's a few sound bites of what was going down while I was making this project.
Don't burn yourself, because it's easy to do. If you have those little silicone fingers, you might want to use those. Smoosh and burn. Smoosh, smoosh, and burn. Hey, yeah, smoosh and burn. Smoosh and burn your fingers. Ow. Ooh, burn. Burn, baby, burn. Just go inferno, burn, baby, burn. Do not do as I do, which is to burn the bejeebies out of your fingers. Don't really know what to say to this, other than, good job, me. Ouch. I have those dumb silicone things. Why don't I just put them on? Why don't I just put them on and stop being a ding-dong about this? Just use these. Don't be dumb like me and burn your fingers for fun, because it's really not that much fun to burn your fingers. Unless you just like burning yourself. This is like cutting off circulation to my thumb. I'd rather burn my thumb. Ooh, ooh, burn, burn, burn. Well, this stupid silicone thing is working really well. I just burned my finger anyway. Ow, 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 ow.
So, as you can tell, there was a lot of burning going on. It went all the way till the very tippy top of the tree. Trust me, I tried using silicone spatulas. Maybe I need to just get some silicone fingers that actually fit. But I absolutely love how it turned out. So I just continued all the way up to the very tip, and then I decided to just leave this as is. I definitely feel like you could wrap some fairy lights in between each of the layers of the pipe cleaners if you wanted to, or even add small tiny little ornaments. But the pipe cleaners kind of give it that whole velvet feel, which I know is trending this year, all those velvet ornaments. So let me know if you are planning to make this tree and what color pipe cleaners you might use. Grab a bucket and some pumpkin spice for this project. I grabbed 2 shades of brown, mixed them together, and painted 2 coats of that on the bucket. Now here is the secret. You can see that the paint is still a little damp. Take that pumpkin spice and start sprinkling it all over the bucket. That's what I did. And I'm telling you, it looks like gingerbread up close. This adds such a unique texture, not to mention it smells amazing. So I sprinkled this all over, and then I let it sit for a second, and then I just took my hand and just kind of wiped it all in, and it gave it this brown, cloudy gingerbread. I don't even know, but try it on something. I'm telling you, it works great. Now, I was a little nervous about this next step, but I did take it outside and spray a very light coat of this satin sealer on it. I was afraid it was going to take the smell away from the bucket, the pumpkin smell, but it didn't. I'm telling you, it did not. So I was very pleasantly surprised by that. Grab your paint markers, and it was time to draw a face on this gingerbread. So I started with 2 eyes using a black marker. For the nose, I used a red marker, and then for the mouth, I used a black marker again. Then for the cheeks, I used some pink paint that I dabbed on. And then I wanted to add some highlights in with white markers. So I did a little bit of highlight on the nose along with the eyes. Once that was all done, I wasn't quite sure the vibe I was feeling, and so I felt like it needed something else. So what I did was grab my paintbrush and some white paint, and I painted a white squiggly line at the top part of the bucket. I wanted to line the inside of my bucket, so I had this fabric in my stash. It came from Hobby Lobby, and what I did was press a seam. I just folded it over, pressed it, and then folded it over one more time so that when I went to put it on the bucket, I could have this folded part essentially just hanging over the edge, and it was easy to secure it. So that's what I did. Made a seam, stuck it in there, and then as I was going around the bucket, I was securing it with some hot glue. Now, as I was looking at the bucket, I had pulled some greenery because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do to finish this off, and I realized, you know what, I think it needs a squiggly line on the bottom as well. So I grabbed my paintbrush, the white paint, and then I also painted a squiggly line on the bottom, and then the finishing thing that I did was just to add a bow kind of off to the side. I hot glued that directly on there, and now you've got this cute little Christmas bucket. You could use it to hold a gift, you could use it to put candy canes in it, candy in your office, so many different options, and a cute way to make over a bucket. So for this, you need a Dollar Tree pillar candle along with a pack of the red pom-pom ribbon and white pom-pom ribbon, also found at Dollar Tree. I removed the label, and then what you're going to do is start wrapping this pom-pom ribbon around the candle. Now, I will say this is one of those time-consuming crafts. It probably took me about 40 minutes to get it done, but it definitely is an easy one to do. Now, one thing you certainly could do if you want to kind of make this candle be a little extra special is I would recommend before you wrap the candle, take your candle, melt it down in a pot. I've done that several times on my channel. I'll link a video down below with how I do that. And melt it down and then add some scent into the candle. These candles don't have any scent, so if you had a peppermint scent, that would be great because it would kind of go along with the red and white. But literally, you're just wrapping, taking turns, red, white, red, white. Now, at first, I started by securing it all the way around, and then by the time I got to the middle of the candle, I was like, oh, you know what? We're just going to tack this here and there, and that's what I did to finish it off. And the beauty of this type of pom-pom ribbon is that when you light the candle and at night, it just has this really soft glow through that ribbon, and it looks very, very pretty. Start with the styrofoam ball and want to measure all the way around the center of your ball, get the circumference, take that number, and you're going to divide that by 8. Once you figure out what that measurement is, taking your styrofoam ball, you're going to make marks all along the center with those measurements. So for me, it was about 1 inch per mark. So I went all the way around, marking the center of my ball with just a regular old pin at 1 inch. Once you have your marks, you want to grab your styrofoam ball, start with the first mark, have it kind of dead center facing you, and you're just going to draw a straight line from the top all the way to the bottom. Then turn it to where that little mark is facing you, and as you can see, these are actually straight lines, but I'm starting at the top of the ball and I'm going down. So the shape is kind of like I don't know, a leaf maybe, where it's kind of skinnier at the top, it gets fatter in the middle, and then it goes pointy again. And so after I drew all of my lines, I ended up with 8 segments on my ball. Your next step is to grab some type of hobby knife, X-Acto knife, whatever you've got, and you want to score the lines that you made on this ball. Now you do want to go in, not super deep, but you do want to go in enough that you can kind of see a divot in the ball. Then take another tool. I'm just using my CRICUT spatula, and this is where you're kind of going to go along that line that you just scored and kind of make that little groove. You could also use the tip of a butter knife. That would work as well. And once you do that, it kind of looks like this. It looks a little janky, but you're not going to notice it. So do that for all of the lines on the ball. Okay, now I hope you guys are still with me. So now what we need to do is we need to make a template. Now I'm using a piece of vellum just to make my life easier. You definitely could do this just with a regular piece of paper. You just kind of need to feel where the grooves are. It's just a rough kind of shape of it. So I'm going to trace one of my grooves. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Once I get that traced, then what we need to do is we will need to make it a little bit bigger, because what we're making is a template that we can use to cut out our fabric pieces. So I've got the original size, and what you want to do is add about a 1/2 inch all the way around. So I took my measuring tape and I just marked a couple of places where it's 1/2 inch, and then again I just roughly connected the dots, la la la, and now I'm ended up with this shape, and I'm going to cut it out. My template is cut out and ready to go. Now you want to grab some fabric. I grabbed 4 different red and white fabrics that I had in my stash. They all came from Hobby Lobby. That's pretty much 99% of the time where I get my fabric. And I started by needing to cut 2, I guess, pieces from each piece of fabric. So I ended up with a total of 8 pieces. So to make it easier, I just grabbed my fabric, folded it in half. I pinned my template down, and I will have everything in today's video that I'm using linked down below in the description box. If you don't see it, please drop me a comment, but I will definitely have everything I'm using in case you're interested in that. And once I got it pinned, I was able to cut those out until I ended up with 8 pieces of fabric. Here comes the fun part. Now you just have to trust the process here. So what you're going to do is start by grabbing your pieces of fabric. You're going to need some pins. You want to pin it to the top of your ball and the bottom. Each piece kind of loosely over the segment. They're going to overlap. As you can see, my piece is bigger, it's overlapping, but do not worry about that. I'm telling you, just trust the process. So you're going to go all the way around the circle, pinning your pieces over just kind of overlapping them and pinning them. Once you get that done, then this is the fun part, and the kind of weird part where it just all comes into play. You want to grab whatever you use to kind of make your, I guess, grooves on your ball bigger. So for me, it was my CRICUT spatula, but again, you could use a butter knife, and you're just going to start pushing on those little grooves. You're going to keep pushing, and it's just like the fabric. It will just keep pushing in there. It's like, I don't know. It was kind of weird while I was doing it. I was like, how could this all possibly fit in these grooves? But it did. So I started by I didn't worry about the complete top or the bottom. I just went along and just pushed the fabric into all of those grooves. Now for the top and the bottom, it's really not that hard to finish off. You just want to pull out all of your pins. You're going to do the same thing for both the top of the circle and the bottom, and you just continue to push that fabric in there. Now you may need to trim a little bit of the fabric if you're seeing that it's kind of long and there's a bunch of extra fabric. So I did trim a little bit, but you just keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And then I left one little piece of fabric a little bit longer where I didn't quite push it all the way down, and I just secured that with a little bit of hot glue, and it kept it all nice and tidy. And then I did the same thing on the other side. It really was very, very painless and a lot easier to do than you might think. To wrap up our faux quilted ornament, I grabbed some white rickrack that I got from Hobby Lobby and decided to tack it at the top of the circle at one end and then the bottom. And I'm just putting it kind of where the grooves are just to kind of give it a more finished look. But honestly, it doesn't look bad. I don't feel like you have to really cover those up if you don't want to. Once that was done, I grabbed some ribbon and tied a bow. And then for the hanger, I'm using some twine that I just tied in a loop. And to get that attached, I just use hot glue to put that at the top. And then the bow, I wanted to finish it off with a little gingerbread embellishment guy. And so I glued that to the center and then glued that right on top of my little hanger. And now my ornament is ready to go. I cannot wait to put it on my gingerbread tree when I get out all my Christmas decor. This little snowman DIY can be used in many different ways. I got a pack of these wooden snowmen from Hobby Lobby. I started by painting the actual snowman with some white paint, and then I painted all of the hats on these black. So I ended up doing a total of 5 for each person in my family. Then I busted out the glitter. That's right, I busted out the glitter because it just calls for glitter. So I took some Mod Podge, I painted the hat with the Mod Podge, and to try to make this as painless as possible, I dipped the hat into the glitter to get it nice and covered. For the scarves, I just used some red and white fabric that I had in my stash that came from Hobby Lobby. And then I also grabbed some wooden stars that I painted with some gold paint. So these are going to be placeholders for our Christmas morning breakfast. We always do a huge Christmas morning breakfast after we open gifts to each other. So I needed to have 5 of those for the 5 people in my family. Then taking a paint marker, I used a black paint marker to make eyes, and then I did a carrot nose, and that's it. I did not do a mouth or put any little buttons on the belly area. Then it was time to add some arms because I wasn't quite sure how I wanted this star to go. So I took my awl tool and I just poked some holes in the side of the snowman and used some brown floral wire to make arms. Once I figured out how I wanted the arms to go, I just used a little bit of hot glue and just stuck those little pieces of wire into the holes that I made. Now for the names, I'm using those gold stars and a paint pen, and I'm just writing the names directly onto the star. One little tip or trick here that I like to do when I am writing on some type of piece of something like this, in this case wooden stars, I start in the middle. You'll notice I start with that middle letter and then I just go left, right until the name is written on the star. Then I did take some hairspray and seal that glitter onto the hat. And the last step was just to glue the star to one of the hands, and then the other one I did add a little extra brown wire just to make it look more like a twig. And then these were ready to be set out at our Christmas morning table. Now you certainly could turn this into an ornament or even a napkin ring. You might remember the kindness rocks that I did in the summertime and then encouraged a lot of you to participate in doing those. Well, this is just the Christmas version of that. If you're not familiar with kindness rocks, you take river rocks and the idea is just to draw some art on it. You can put words of affirmation, you can draw fun pictures, just something that you can put down somewhere and someone can find it and hopefully it will brighten their day. So places that you could leave these are outside of your public library, maybe the grocery store, a hospital, nursing homes, police stations, just different places in public areas that someone could find a rock and it could just really give them a nice smile for the day. My favorite type of marker to use with the kindness rocks are the Thule art markers. I just really like those. Once you have a river rock, you just want to make sure you give it a good wipe. You don't have to wash them with soap and water. I just use a baby wipe to kind of wipe off any dirt or residue that may be on there. Use my markers to decorate it, and then I do give it a good coat of a poly spray paint just to seal in that paint, and then the fun part is just going and hiding these all around town. Did you know that the Cricut Maker 3 can cut wood? Yep, that's right. So I just used my Cricut Maker 3 to cut out some house shapes because I wanted to make a small gingerbread house tree skirt around one of my mini Christmas trees. So once I got those cut out, I used some Restore colored paint. This is my favorite gingerbread color of paint. I painted those, and then I did use my Cricut to cut out the white details, but you certainly could draw those on with a paint marker, no worries. And then I did use some little brackets that I picked up in Amazon to attach these together, and then it wrapped around the tree. Now, if you don't have a Cricut Maker 3, you can still make this project. You could use foam board from Dollar Tree. You could use cardboard boxes to make a little mini tree skirt as well. I found this star at the thrift store and decided it needed a little makeover. So I removed the sticker and gave it a light sanding. I will end up taking off those florals at the bottom, but I wasn't too concerned about them at this point. And then I grabbed some Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster, and I painted the star full coverage with that paint. With the star all painted, I measured the inside of it so I knew how much space I had, and then I picked an image in Cricut Design Space and cut it out on my Cricut. Now, if you do not have a Cricut, no worries. You certainly can print a picture and Mod Podge it on there, or you could even find a picture that you like, trace it, and then either hand paint it with some acrylic paint or even use paint markers to make it easier. So once I had my design cut out, I got it ready to apply to my star. I did decide to rough up the edges of the star with my sanding block, so I did that. And then I applied my decal to the center of the star. Now it's time to get these florals off. They were a little crusty dusty, and it wasn't quite the vibe I wanted to go for. I noticed that they were stapled down, so I got my heavy duty staple remover, popped those two pieces of greenery off. And then for the base and the dowel rod that's holding the star up, I really didn't want it to be green. So I started with my sanding block to see what it would do. It wasn't doing much. I took it outside to my Bosch Big Time sander, and it was coming off, but it was making a mess, and it just wasn't what I wanted to do. So I thought, you know what? We're going to fake it till we make it. So I brought it back inside and grabbed two colors of paint. I grabbed Waverly and the color Truffle, and I painted the base with that full coverage. And then I also painted the dowel rod with that brown paint. Once that was dry, I took the color Fawn, also by Waverly, got some on my brush and pretty much dabbed the paint till it was completely off, and then I went in and just started swiping it across to give it that distressed wood look. It's time to figure out my floral situation. So for this, I dug through my florals, grabbed a couple of things that I had from Dollar Tree that they typically have every year, and also some from Hobby Lobby, which again, they have every single year. So I started with these brown little twig things, and I put those down on the kind of the base, just kind of piecing it, figuring out how much I wanted to use. Those were from Dollar Tree. And then the ice green leaves with the berries, those are from Hobby Lobby. I grabbed a couple of those. And the pine cones, I pulled off 3 of those, and those are from Dollar Tree as well. I know that they have those every single year, so you should be able to find these once they start to put out the Christmas decor. And I just hot glued it and secured it towards the front of the dowel rod that was holding up the star, and then this little display piece was all ready to go. I grabbed these 2 wooden nutcrackers from Hobby Lobby. I got them on sale, so for 2 of them, I paid a total of $12.99 plus tax. They're about 4 feet tall, so a very good deal. And I started off thinking that I wanted to paint them all different colors, but then I realized, you know what, where I wanted to put these, that whole area in my entry is red and gold and green. So I decided to just take them outside. I gave them a good coat of some gold metallic spray paint. And then all I did to get them attached was I put them kind of flanking my stairs, and I just used the 3M picture hooks to get them secure. Time to make over this Dollar Tree sign. I started by cutting out the word peace with my hobby knife and popping off the back. Then taking a piece of acetate, I measured kind of the inside of this little frame piece, trimmed it down, and hot glued it in to the frame. I grabbed my bin of Christmas scrapbook paper, found one that I liked, traced the back onto it, used a glue stick to get it attached, then took some fairy lights and tacked those into the inside of the frame. I wanted to do a little paper crafting, so I cut out this design on my Cricut. I cut out the back part with white cardstock, and then all of the letters are just cut out with some red glitter cardstock. To make this have a 3D element, I took some of these little foam stickers and I just trimmed them down oh so tiny and attached those to the back of the letters, and then I glued this to the back of my little sign. Grabbing some of the little Dollar Tree wooden trees, I used a green paint marker to get those colored in. I did add a little bit of white with the white paint marker, and then went a little crazy with some of the snowy glitter and tied it all together, and now I have this cute little lighted winter sign. Here is a stained glass project, y'all. I am just really loving stained glass. Now, this is sublimation, but have no fear. I have got some stained glass projects coming at you, just like I did for that fall pumpkin. I've got some really good ones coming at you. So what I did is I found these images on Creative Fabrica and I printed them out with my sublimation printer. You do have to have a sublimation printer to do sublimation. Then these blanks also are sublimation blanks, which just means that when I transfer these images to it, it really will pick up that color. So I applied my images to my little ornaments. I used some heat safe tape to make sure that they were nice and stuck to them. And then I used my auto heat press and pressed them down to get the images transferred. Once the images were transferred, I did add the date on the back with a gold paint pen and then just tied up a ribbon. And these ornaments turned out so vibrant, so pretty. I absolutely love how they look. If you are loving the whole vintage vibe, then you are definitely going to want to make this DIY. I found these 3 vintage printables. They will be linked down below. You can grab them in the description box. And I had these 3 frames that I had picked up from Hobby Lobby on clearance. You could easily pick up some cheap frames from Dollar Tree or even the thrift store. I just trimmed these down, used a glue stick to get these attached, and voila, you've got yourself some really cute vintage Christmas decor. Grab a pack of these mini wooden trees from Dollar Tree. You're going to need some green paint, and voila, you've got yourself some green trees. Now, once you get that painted, you only need one. You need this 2-pack of the mini mason jars. So you might remember the fall one I made a couple years ago. This is just the Christmas version. And so I started by taking a little bit of snow and sprinkling it down there. And then I realized, oh, you know what? I should probably glue my tree in first. So I hot glued the tree down to the base of the little mason jar. Then I went in and sprinkled a little bit of snow in there. Once that was done, I wanted to add a light to this. So I took these fairy lights that I got in a huge pack from Amazon, spent some time untangling them, and then I just took the lid to that mason jar and I wrapped the lights in there nice and tight. Once I got all the lights in there, I secured them in there with some Scotch tape so that they would stay inside the lid. Then taking a piece of fabric that came from Hobby Lobby, I just put that on top of it to finish off the little jar. And then this cute little tree is just so precious, especially at night when it's all lit up. I'm using one of these wooden canvases from Dollar Tree for this project. I started by taping off the frame portion of this wooden canvas and painting the inside of it with some white paint. I went for full coverage with this white paint. Once that paint was dry, I painted the frame with some brown wax. This is the Deco Art brown wax. I absolutely love to use this for frames especially. Once that was all nice and dry, I was ready to start applying my decals. So what I did, I went into CRICUT Design Space, designed a little envelope. This is actually a gift for one of my friends. And I just cut out several different little pieces using different color vinyl and stuck them down. And then that was it. This was super easy to do, and I absolutely love how it turned out. Here is another DIY. If it's not real Christmas lights, y'all, it's felted Christmas lights that you have to untangle. But one way that you can add ornaments maybe to your Christmas tree or to your garland on a budget is to look for garlands. Now this one came from Dollar Tree, like I mentioned, in the Dollar Plus section. It had a ton of these light bulbs, and my Snoopy tree that is in my craft room, definitely I'm still working on adding ornaments to it, and y'all, it costs a lot to build a tree from the ground up. So I decided one way to kind of fill in all the gaps on my tree was to cut apart these light bulbs. I, on my Cricut, typed in all the names of the peanut characters, cut them out on my Cricut with some iron-on vinyl, and then applied them to the light bulbs. It was as easy as that, and these were the perfect thing to fill in all those little empty holes on my tree, and it only cost me $5. easy Christmas DIY alert. I created this gingerbread house printable. It's 12 different gingerbread houses and it is sized to fit into an 8x10 frame. This printable will be linked down below so you can grab it down there if you want it. Once I printed it all out on cardstock, I trimmed it down with my Fiskars paper trimmer, and I had this frame. Now the glass was cracked in it, so I just took the glass out, wasn't too concerned about that. And then I put my printable inside of the frame, and that's it. This is a perfect little addition to my gingerbread themed kitchen. Here is an easy way to make some large signs. So I picked up both of these gingerbread people from Hobby Lobby. I got them half off. So for two of them, it cost me $13.99 plus tax. I took off the hanging hardware on the back, and then I also went back to Hobby Lobby and searched around their, I guess, wood section to try to find a frame base. Now, if you catch them on sale, this is a really good deal. So I ended up finding two that I liked, and all I did for this sign was simply hot glue these little gingerbread people to the white sign. Now, there was space above and below it. I thought about adding some vinyl decal to it, some words, but I decided to leave it plain. I'd even thought about painting the little beaded part of the frame with red. But again, I just kept it very simple, but this is a very cost-effective way to make some really large signs to put up with your Christmas decor. Grab one of these Dollar Tree canvases because you guys know that I love making the different themed charcuterie boards. So for this one, we're doing something a little different. I had these handles in my stash. You want to grab two different handles. I believe Dollar Tree does sell handles now, so you can check there if you want to go super budget friendly. And what I ended up doing was taking those two handles outside and I spray painted them with some white spray paint because I've got something fun in mind for the handles. Now, for this, as you guys know, I love to wood burn and I love to use torch paste. So I created a design in CRICUT Design Space. You can go into my file and honestly in there, I've got the design that I'm doing, but I went in there and I added a ton of different elements. So you could go in and kind of tweak it to how you want. The pink rectangle in there is the size that you have to work with. It's the template. So if you take those little pieces and put it on that square, you'll know that for sure that it'll fit. So with the torch paste, you guys know how this goes. You apply your stencil, you apply the torch paste, let it sit for 3 minutes, and you pull off the stencil and then you get ready to wood burn. You want to make sure that you're using a high heat gun to make that torch paste activate. And once you get it all wood burned, I usually take a baby wipe and wipe off any residue that's left on the board. Then we need to seal this to make it food safe. So I always use the Howard's Butcher block to seal. I have a special paintbrush that I label with the word food, so I know that that is my special brush to apply this sealer to my tray. And then once you get it nice and sealed, you want to do that about 3 times, letting it dry about 24 hours in between each coat. To finish off the handles, I added some red stripes to those and grabbed some little peppermint candy things that I got in a pack from Hobby Lobby and glued those onto the ends of the handle. And then to attach the handles, I used the Gorilla Clear Grip, like heavy duty adhesive. Let that dry a good 24 hours before I handled it. And then this was ready for movie night. Here is a very easy Dollar Tree DIY that you can make. Start off with 4 of the tumbling tower blocks. I glued 2 together and then I put the other 2 on top of that. Once that was all secure, I took a Dollar Tree vase and I glued this down into the bottom of the vase. I also attached my tree to that so that the tree would not wiggle around. Then I sprinkled in some snow in there just to add a little bit of sparkle. And for the top of this little lantern light that we're making, you want to grab a puck light. And what I did is I just cut a piece of glitter gold cardstock to put on top of the puck light. And then I hot glued a gold bell to it, added a little bow, and you've got yourself a really cute little Christmas tree light. You've probably seen the hack by now of taking the Dollar Tree Nutcracker, spray painting them in gold, and that's a dupe for some of the high-end stores. So what I did is I took it a little further. I started by spraying mine with some gold metallic spray paint. Then I went in with some gold glitter spray paint. Now, instead of just leaving these to be displayed, I thought, you know what, this would be a great piece to kind of fill up space in my kids' Hallmark tree. So I took some eye hooks and I just screwed those to the tops of the nutcrackers. It was very easy to get those in. Then I took some red velvet ribbon that I got a huge amount on Amazon and just tied some bows and tied them directly to branches in the tree. It fills the space, it adds a little sparkle, and it's just a great way to use these nutcrackers. Here is an easy ornament. Just grab yourself one of these ornament blanks. You can get them all over the place. I just grabbed mine on Amazon and I grabbed some gold metallic vinyl and I cut out the words "Oh Holy Night." And all I did was cut them out on my Cricut, I weeded it, I attached it directly to the ornament, and then I just took some red chiffon ribbon just to kind of add a little something extra to it, tied it off, and this would be a great little thing to add to a present. It gives it a little extra embellishment, plus it's kind of like a little bonus gift, but these are so easy to make and they do not take very long to do so. Here's a quick little Dollar Tree DIY where you can use up, if you have a bunch of these little clear, I can't remember what they call them, gemstones, or if you have some little candle votive holders, this is a great way just to make this quick DIY and use it for entertaining or just a little extra ambiance. So what I did is after I figured out how many of these little stones I had, I ended up doing a red row, 2 green rows, a red row, 2 green rows, and I went all the way around. I just used some hot glue to secure these to my candle holder, and then that's it. I mean, talk about simple. It just takes, you know, a plain, boring, clear candle holder and just brings a little more Christmas spirit to it. So definitely an easy DIY to make. This project could definitely be a sentimental type project, or just if you love Christmas music, a good DIY for you. So I found all these free Christmas music sheet music pages on Design Bundles, and what you want to do is grab some clear ornaments. Now I grabbed my 4-pack from Hobby Lobby because it was cheaper than getting them at Dollar Tree, and I cut strips. I kind of varied the sizes to where you just have, notes and all that good stuff on the strip. And then once you got those cut, you want to wrap them around a pin. When you pull it off the pin, you just want to kind of squeeze your little round. I don't know, it kind of helps shape it and keep it in that shape. And then you're going to stick it inside of the ornament. Now, once you stick it inside the ornament, you will want to give it a little bit of a shake, and it'll kind of loosen the roll a little bit. Now you could fill it all the way to the top. I just filled these halfway. These are going to be music ornaments for my son's choir tree at his school. And then I finished off the top with red velvet ribbon. So if you have a special song that you really love at Christmas time, you could make some of these. This is another great ornament. Again, a cost-effective way to fill up a tree for really, really cheap. I forgot to grab a beauty shot of this, so I'll just kind of point out where these ornaments are on the choir tree. Here is a really cute Christmas display tray you can make with one of these wood rounds from Dollar Tree and the candlestick I got from Hobby Lobby. I started by painting the wood round completely white as well as the candlestick. I did full coverage. Then I grabbed my paint markers and I just freehanded and started drawing Christmas lights all over the top of the wood round. Once that was all done, I just glued that to the candlestick using some Gorilla Clear Grip strong adhesive glue. And that's it. This is just a great, unique way to kind of make a little display piece. You could use it in so many different ways. I'm using it in my movie cabinet that has all of my Christmas movie memorabilia. This DIY goes along with Christmas movie DIYs. I grabbed all of these bead sets from Amazon. It will be linked in the description box along with the first pinned comment. Now you could do any movie theme that you wanted. I've just pulled some that say Rudolph and Frosty just to kind of show you. But since Elf is my favorite movie, I'm making an Elf movie bracelet stack. The biggest tip I can give you when making this type of bracelets is when you grab the piece of elastic and before you put the beads on, you want to give that piece of elastic a couple of stretches. I usually do, 3 to 4 times, just kind of pull it out, let it go back in, pull it out. Do that, and then start putting your beads on there. Once you've got your beads on there, I tie it, and using some Loctite gel glue, this is my preferred strong, very fast drying glue to use. I put a little tiny dot, and this one has such a fine tip, it makes it very easy to do that. Then I go ahead and tie it one more time, put another tiny little dot of the glue on there, and then my bracelets are ready to be worn for my Elf movie watching party. If you've got color changing vinyl, they make cold and hot color changing vinyl. This is a great and easy gift idea to do. Grab some beer can glasses. I just get mine in a pack from Amazon. Wipe it down with alcohol. Apply your design to the glass and then watch the magic happen. I mean, you just add some ice, you add your drink, and it just changes colors. I made some with fall leaves that I really loved and some Halloween ones, but this, again, is a very easy gift idea that you can make, and it really, again, does not take much time at all. Here is an easy DIY for all my pet loving friends. I printed out a picture of my girls, Gwen and Gabby, wearing their elf pajamas. By the way, side note, if you know HannahAnderson.com, she has the cutest pet pajamas that go with family pajamas. So that's where I got theirs last year. And all I did was grab a Dollar Tree gold frame. I printed out Dear Santa Paws, We Can Explain, and had my CRICUT cut it out, applied it to the mat, and this was finished. Moving into this project, I'm using one of these wooden stars from the Dollar Tree. Now, my original thought, and I am going to show you a little bit of what I started to do because I just like to keep it real here. I wanted the inside of this star to be navy, maybe a blue ombre thing going on. Honestly, I wasn't quite sure, but I knew I wanted blue. I had some blue metallic paint. I had different shades, so I started to paint it. When I painted the first coat of the blue paint, I was like, you know what? This is just not gonna work. So I took the star outside and I spray painted it gold. While my gold star was drying outside, I grabbed this little wooden nativity pack from Dollar Tree, pulled out the stable, Joseph, Mary, and Jesus in the manger. Then I took some of the Waverly chalk paint in the color ink. If you want to be fancy, you can say I used ink colored paint, but you can also say, hey, I painted it black. So here are all the parts of my project so far. I'm going to start by taking the star and I want to hot glue down the pieces that I painted black. So I'll start with the stable. I'll just glue that down kind of to this in the center of the star, then Joseph, Mary, and the baby Jesus. So on each star, each little segment of the star is going to get a total of 3 holes. So that means you're going to end up punching through with your strong muscles 15 holes in the star. Where you punched all of those holes, we are going to be adding fairy lights to it. So I'm using another one of these strands of fairy lights. I buy these in packs. The last pack I bought had like half of them warm, half of them cool, and they were super cheap. I've also got the colored ones. So if you're looking for good fairy lights, again, this will all be linked down below. You just want to take where there is a light and just kind of crimp the wire, just kind of squeeze it together, and then you just want to poke it through the hole. I'm going to use Scotch tape to kind of secure everything in the back, and then once the lights are in there, this beautiful nativity is ready to be displayed. Here is a quick little DIY that you can make and gift to someone. You want to start with one of these baskets and sequin trees from Dollar Tree. I started by grabbing my scissors and then cutting a small slit on the bottom of the tree in the middle part of the tree. From there, I grabbed some more stuffing and just kind of filled it in a little bit more. And then I grabbed a large popsicle stick so that I could stick it inside of this tree and get it secured to my sequin tree. Once it was nice and secure with some hot glue, I glued this into the little basket. From there, I just wanted to finish it off with 2 of these gold presents. It came in a pack from Dollar Tree. I put one on each side of the tree and just glued it directly to the basket. And then I also took a wooden star that I painted with some gold paint and glued that to the top of the tree. Once that was on there, I just filled it with some delicious treats. And then this was ready to give to a special friend, coworker, or family member. Let's transform this Dollar Tree wine bottle bag into a little light that you can just set out or even add to your Christmas tablescape. So the first thing I did was grab a jar and I cut off the top of the wine bag and I set my jar inside of the bag. From there, I took the top of it and folded it over and hot glued it to the inside of the jar. And then it was just kind of a matter of piecing this back together. So what I did was I cut the fur trim and added that to the top of the jar, just kind of hot gluing it and securing it as I went. Then I took the top of the mason jar and I covered it with some of the white, I guess, furry fabric, felt. I don't know what it is. It's kind of furry, but not quite furry. And I put that on top of the jar lid. Then the hat got glued onto the top of the jar lid. And I also added a little bell to the end of Santa's hat. Throw in those fairy lights, and now you've got yourself a cute little light. This little stuffed Santa from Dollar Tree is getting a makeover. So I had one of these God Bless America signs left over and I cut it apart so that I could use the metal portion of the sign. I covered it with some green plaid fabric that I got from Hobby Lobby, added some ribbon trim, and then jumped on my Cricut and typed out, "You better not pout, you better not cry." Then I just attached that to the fabric and ironed it on. So I used iron-on HTV for that. And then I just hot glued Santa holding the little sign. And I did give his hat a little bit of a makeover and change that up as well. And now Santa is sporting a sign to remind those kids that he's coming to town. I had one of these little trays from Dollar Tree. I wasn't quite sure what to do with it, but then I came up with an idea. So I painted it with some of my favorite Restore Deco Art paint, and then I grabbed some of these little wooden pieces that I got in a set from Hobby Lobby. I grabbed out some of the candy canes along with the gingerbread, and then I also had some half wooden circles. I used paint pens to color these in, and for that little half wooden circles, I just tried to make them look like peppermints. With the embellishments all done, it was time to try to make this truck look like a gingerbread truck. So I took my paint pen and I just kind of, did squiggly wigglies and dots and just filled it in to try to make it look gingerbready. And then it was time for me to glue on my embellishments. The little half wooden circles I glued on to be hubcaps, glued down the candy canes, and the gingerbread cookie got glued down. And then I didn't use my Cricut, so I mentally prepared my brain to freehand this. Every time I do something freehanded, I way overthink it and do I practice writing in air with a pencil, and then I make it way longer than it needs to be. But I decided just to freehand Ginger's Bakery on it, and then that's it. My little gingerbread truck is finished. Let's make a really cute display tray with a wood round and a dowel rod. I grabbed my miter shears and decided how long I wanted my legs to be. Then I cut 3 pieces. Now, the reason I'm using miter shears is because I can cut these dowel rods at an angle, and then I can set them and they will attach and be perfectly fit in the middle there. As you can see here, they'll all go in the middle, and because it's angled, they'll fit on there really well. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what I did there. Once I got those trimmed down to where they needed to be, I did use some paint, Restore by Deco Art, and I painted the legs and the wood round with that paint. Then taking some brown hot glue, I went around the edge of the wood round, just kind of squirting that all along, making it look like drippy chocolate. Then for the whipped cream, I'm using whipped clay. Now I find this at Michael's. It's absolutely wonderful to work with. It actually comes with the piping bag and the tips, so it's a great little thing to use for fake whipped cream. I'll link it down below for you. And then I added in some faux polymer clay sprinkles. I buy all those on Amazon. Once that was finished, I attached my legs. I did use some construction grade hot glue. I would recommend using some wood glue, especially if you're going to display anything heavy on it. And then this tray was ready to be used. Here is an easy peasy makeover of some of these little mugs. Now I know at fall time, Dollar Tree had fall versions of these. So if you grab some of those, you could definitely do this DIY. I just had these in my stash. So I started by painting the mugs. I just wanted to give them a good coat of paint, and then on the fronts of them, I added some fun Christmas scrapbook paper that I got in a pack from Hobby Lobby. Once that was added, I glued on some little wood embellishments to the front, and then again, using that brown hot glue, I squirted that on the top, and then I did the whipped clay for the whipped cream and added again faux sprinkles, and that's it. This is a really easy DIY, maybe if you're going to have a hot cocoa bar, to make a couple of these to display when that gets set up. And if you need just a little bit more Christmas inspiration, take a quick look at the pans of these projects. And if you want to make any of these, the good news is they are all in the same video. I will have it linked down below in the description box, as well at the very end of this video, so you can easily click on it. that will wrap up the first official Christmas video of the 2024 Christmas DIY season. Let me know down below which one of these projects was your favorite, or have you made any of these projects? Also, let me know what theme are you really going to love decorating for Christmas. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. Here are some more videos you might want to check out, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!